Live from Deathray Studios in the sunny West Valley of Phoenix, it's Late Night with the Davey.
Before dark.
On this week's show, my Welsh brothers from other mothers, Curtis and Jenks from Twisted Locker. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Davey Deathray. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here, back with another edition of Late Night with the Davey Before Dark. Yes, that's right. My schedule has sort of changed as of late, and what's really cool about that is I can still do a true blue Late Night with the Davey, which I love doing. It's brought in such a fun audience from around the United States, and I think every now and then even somebody from down under can jump on in there as well, since they're kind of like half a day ahead of us out here. But what's really cool about being able to go live during the day here for us in the States is we're able to bring in some awesome guests across the pond in the UK, because it's a little bit of an odd time difference out there. So I'm really pumped. Not only are we live at 3 p.m. Eastern right now, it is 8 p.m. GMT. So if you're in Wales, Scotland, Ireland, England, boom, there you are. It is kind of Late Night with the Davey for y'all. I'm super pumped for our guests tonight. These are guys that started their channel about a year ago, January of 2024. And I think, YouTube recommended one of their videos. Maybe it was like April or something. So by that time, I saw like, man, these guys kind of just got going. They have a great production value for their channel. They have a really cool dynamic because they've got different tastes and different backgrounds. They're, cousins, I believe, from Wales there. And so it's really cool to see that dynamic of one guy that likes the nastiest, trashiest, and one guy that's like, hey, I'm a writer. I got some class. Like, don't make me watch any crap. And I love that kind of vibe that they've got going. So that's one of the things, being a solo channel, it's kind of nice. I don't have to, I can just dominate the conversation like I am right now. But what's really cool when you have a duo that really work well together like that, like Frank and Darren at Slaughtered Lamb, is you do have that contrast, that yin and yang. So I'm really pumped to get the conversation going tonight. Guys, we're going to be talking about what makes or what creates a timeless horror icon. And we've got a poll in the chat right now where you can answer that question. I'm only allowed to give 4 options here. So we've got the look/presentation, the personality or lack thereof. Some people like either or, creative kills, or theme music. I kind of struggled to think of a fourth one, but I know that every horror icon has, a memorable theme that follows them throughout their franchise. So wanted to put that one in there as well. And guys, I also started a super chat goal. So if we reach 5 super chats of $5 or more, we'll bring Curtis and Jenks from Twisted Locker back on the show. We'll find another topic to chit chat with you guys about, and it won't be a Late Night with the Davey. We'll just find like a Friday night or something like that to bring them on and have a fun time. So I'm going to say what's up to everyone in the chat, and then we're going to get these boys in here. What's happening, Lamontre? How are you doing, man? So great to see you. King Matthew III says, in my opinion, the thing that makes a timeless horror film is the opening kill, the intense chase scenes, and the tense music taken. Take Scream 1, for example. It had the most iconic opening ever. What about what makes a timeless icon, King Matthew? Go ahead and chime in on that, and we'll get to your guys' thoughts here later on in the show. What's happening, Big Rod? One of our great channel members. How you doing? Going with E, all the above. There you go, Big Rod. Eli Cortez, our guy, man, our friggin' Death Squad mod, one of the amazing community members we have here, and a channel member as well. What's happening, Eli? So great to see you, man. We got Dean Renner, another great channel member. What's happening, Dean? From Enter the Cinevault. Guys, if you have not subbed over to Enter the Cinevault, at least check out the channel, watch some of his vids, see if it's your thing. I really dig Dean's voice, and I'm looking forward to seeing that content ramp up here. Speak of the devil, there is Enter the Cinevault right there. Aaron Click is in the chat. What's happening, Aaron? How you doing? We got Jordan Moran. What's up, Jordan? Nicholas Woodall, one of our great channel members. How you doing, Nicholas? Gene Whitacombe. What's up, Gene? Let's see who else we got. Abigail Palfrey, one of our great channel members. Hey guys, that intro was sick. Thank you so much. I take a lot of pride in my intros. That's the little bit of production value we give you. I'm relatively unpolished other than that. We got Jamie Hart, our original Death Squad mod and channel member in the house, says, I voted for personality. If you ain't got style, then what are you doing? There you go. Boom. I love it. I love an answer with an explanation. I'm big on that. Oh, I do too, Eli. Yep. I'm all squishy right now. You trust me on that one. What's happening? Destiny Faulkner in the chat. So great to see you, Des. Hope you're doing well. You're, I think not too far from me in the Southwest here. I hope it doesn't get too chilly for you there at night. Great to see you in the chat. Thank you so much for hanging out. And we got Wayne Gotke. What's happening, Wayne? So great to see you, man. Hell yeah. And yes, Des, to you and to Jamie, extra condolences for, the loss of David Lynch last week. And the guy was just, there's like nobody like him. Just a true artist and, one of one, as they say when they talk about sports. Oh, you got snow and it's all melted. Holy crap. Yeah, it'll get to like 34 in the middle of the night here out in the Phoenix area. Haven't seen any snow yet, but maybe I would imagine in the mountains they're getting it all the time. Of course, Des, of course. All right, guys, let's see here. Whew, I really flew through that intro. Usually I like sit around and waste time and just blah, blah, blah. Maybe later on in the show, once we're done having our discussion, we could take a look at some news items. There's some interesting stuff that dropped. Let me know in the chat if you guys are interested in covering a little news because, we have word of a new Sam Raimi horror film with Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien called Send Help. There's also a trailer for Hell of a Summer, which is the film that Finn Wolfhard has directed for Neon. And holy crap, guys, as if Nosferatu wasn't enough, Robert Eggers is coming back in 2026 Christmas for a movie called Werewolf. So he's taken on a werewolf story. We're getting a lot of double dipping. Double dipping on the werewolf, double dipping on Frankenstein this year with Maggie Gyllenhaal and Guillermo del Toro. So interesting. I really hope, what I want to see from Eggers next is I do want something that's a bit more stylized. Nosferatu was fine, but I heard that he wanted to make it like expressionist, like the way that Cabinet of Dr. Caligari was. And man, I tell you what, if Nosferatu had that beautiful, all that costume design and all those great performances, but it had an expressionist look in like the set design, that would have kind of put it over the top for me. But as it stands, maybe I'll watch Nosferatu again. Like maybe, I don't know. It's sort of like, tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast. I'm just sort of like, yeah, I've seen this movie like a million times, very familiar. We got Dynamite Tiger in the chat, one of our great channel members. What's happening? Dynamite. Aaron Click voted for the look. But really, I don't think it's necessarily just one thing. There you go. That's why we have the discussion. I love it. Let's see here. Guys talking about video games. I love it. Dynamite says Freddy Krueger is my fave, the whole package. Yeah. I think there's a really good argument for that. Hell yeah. All right, guys, about 10 minutes of chatting and building everything up. Are you guys pumped? Are you guys ready for Curtis and Jenks from the Twisted Locker? Are you guys amped for this? It's going to be a hell of a time. Hell of a time. Now I feel like I'm the only one that's pumped because I'm not seeing the love in the chat. Come on, chat. Let's get this going. All right, guys. So, yeah, like I said in the intro, these guys are one of my favorite channels out there. Immediately when I saw this, I was like, oh, wow, son los mismos. Like me and these guys, very similar like way of looking at horror and appreciating horror. Especially when you see the posters behind them, you're going to see some Dead Alive and some Evil Dead. So you guys know that I'm all about that. So why wait? Why not bring on Curtis and Jenks from Twisted Locker, my Welsh brothers from other mothers. Boom. How you guys doing?
Yes, get in there, right?
You hyped us up way too much, Davey.
I know.
We're just going to crash and burn now.
Yeah.
Me too. I'll pilot the ship. Brothers.
You're right.
That intro, before you came on, I almost had tears in my eyes.
Oh,
Incredible.
That's the magic of the radio voice, you know?
Oh,
know when
yes.
you, do you know when you say before dark, that really sexy way?
Yeah.
You sounded like Deadpool when when he does the soft rain.
Oh
rain
yeah, he
red.
does his yes.
Yeah.
There was part of it where I was like, do I almost sound like Nicolas Cage from Longlegs when he's like, "You are the dark."
Yeah.
Yes, that is it.
So yeah, guys, we've done a few collabs before. It's been really fun. I love what you guys do on your channel. I'm kind of remiss though. I think out of all the times we've gotten together, I don't think I've ever asked you like the question that most people get asked when they guest on another person's channel. What made you guys, when you guys started last January, what was it that was like, we got to get on YouTube? What influenced you to do that? And just kind of tell me a little bit of that origin story and share that with the audience.
Yeah, so we've always wanted to do something in the space of movies. The dream is to make a movie.
Hell yeah.
But me and Jenks have always talked about doing something together, whether we had Facebook groups where we would just review films. It started as group chats and it just kind of snowballed from there. And we had a few drinks one night, got very drunk, went back to my house, right, and said, let's just do a podcast. And he was sitting on one side of the couch. I was on the other side of the couch. We put a phone in the middle of us, pressed record, and just started talking shit.
Yeah.
And the night we did it, we listened back and we were like, we can do this. That sounds great. And then we listened back to it sober and we were like, oh my God, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. We just said, like, let's just talk now about horror remakes and see what happens. And it just flowed and it was a bit rusty, but at the time we were like, oh, there's definitely, we're bouncing off each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good.
And before the podcast, before we put a camera in front of our faces, that is literally how we speak. Every time we're together, every time we talk, it's just movies, and we're usually arguing because he doesn't like what I like, and to be fair, I like what he likes because I like everything. I'm a proper horror fan.
For sure, yeah.
We always end up arguing, so we thought, put a camera in front of us and see what happens.
Yeah. Like, originally, I didn't want to be on camera. I know it's surprising with these looks, right?
I know you're. We look alike, so I got to tell you, you are one handsome motherfucker.
I had to fight to have us on camera. He was dead against it.
Curtis, were you like, what if I grow a mustache? Will you be on camera with me if I grow a mustache?
Well, the thing is, Dave, I originally thought, I wanted to be a writer because I didn't have to show my face. And I thought, I don't want to show my face. I like anonymity, I don't want to be, on screen. I don't post shit on Facebook. I've never posted pictures of my kids. I'm just not a private person, but, online a private.
Yeah.
And then once Curtis clocked these looks, he thought, you know what, we've got to get that on camera quick as we can. And then I said, you know what? You're right, Kurt. You're right. The world needs to see this ginger beard.
There's part of me that I sort of understand when people like talk politics and maybe they don't want it to affect their job. So they don't want to be on camera when they do like YouTube or Rumble or whatever. Like I get that. But I do think that when you're talking about something that's just like a hobby, it's just one more layer of being able to connect. Like people like seeing the face. They like seeing your expression. They like being able to visualize you when they think about your channel. And so I think it was the right move, like, regardless of how you look. But yeah, you guys are handsome, so it works.
I think for me, you see, it was about in my head when I first got published, I thought one day I might be famous. Who knows? So I'd rather no one knows my face. Turns out I never got famous, and no one gives a shit what I look like.
I tried to get famous playing music. Well, not really get famous, but I wanted it to be a living. And I played punk rock, and I never thought it would be wildly successful, but it was just something I wanted to do. But I totally get it too, because we grew up in that last generation where we didn't grow up with social media. So I don't really overshare on social media. Like I share the channel, and that's like for me, it's not like I'm hanging out with my friends. Here's a picture. It's like no one cares about that. So you guys are cousins, right?
No, lovers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That happens a lot here in the South.
And in Wales.
I get, if it's not a goat, it's a cousin. Or if it's not a sheep, it's a cousin.
Sheep, right.
And what's the age difference between you guys?
15 years.
15 years.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah, that's
Guess who's younger?
Yeah. Curtis got
know,
that baby face. Now, when did you guys was talking about movies something that you guys have been doing for like how long does that go back as far as what you guys would have a family gathering and you guys would just meet up and be like, let's talk about Street Trash and Evil Dead?
So I didn't really know Jenks that well until I turned 18. So I obviously knew him as a family member. We are first cousins, our parents, our siblings. But with a 15-year age gap, he wasn't hanging about with me at parties or whenever we got together. But then I turned 18, Jenks seen an opportunity to get another person on the party bus. Back over here, we go to Butlins for adult weekends. It's Friday to Monday, just
like a holiday park.
Park.
Drinking.
And they do adult weekends. Soon as I turned 18, I went away with Jenks and some of our other cousins. And it's weird to say we hit it off, Jenks, because I've known you all my life, but I didn't get to know you until I turned 18, really.
Yeah, I was basically like a father figure to him up until that point, you know, where he just I couldn't keep a straight face then. No, yeah, we just weren't hanging out because, like I said, he was 50.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with other 50-year-olds, obviously, but just not him. But yeah, we just again, I was more the age gap was more like an uncle nephew age gap.
Yeah.
And then we became buddies, and you know, and he moved out on his own. I think you got a kid quite young, so you kind of grew up really quick, actually. So you were ready just to, like, you know, all your friends might be partying, but you sort of kind of grew up a little bit quicker, I think. So that's what kind of made it as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
And at one point in us two knowing each other, I was just, and I remember going up to your bedroom when I was really young, and you had loads of horror VHS tapes. You had a full shelf of them. And at one point, I was just a snotty little kid ripping all your VHS tapes off the shelves, and you're probably getting pissed off with me because I'm pulling all the discs out and everything. But I remember very clearly. Always, every time I went to your house, I'd go up into your room because you had all the all the ex-rental box videos, like.
Yeah, I used to be very neat and tidy. I used to get every so if I like Batman, I'd have to have them all. Batman and Robin. Yeah. I had Blair Witch 2, which is a piece of shit, but I had to have it. I was very fussy. I used to collect comic books, and I don't know if I was the same with you, Davey, but if somebody picked one of my comics up and they didn't hold it right, they were like kind of bending. I was like, take it off.
Oh yeah. No, I totally know what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. Same thing with like CDs. When people would, as a teenager, they just take the CD out of the player and put it down. And you're like, whoa. The book's right there. The book's right there, asshole. Well, sweet. That's awesome to learn that history about you guys. Yeah, I don't know why. We just never really chatted about that. So I was always curious just how that came to be. Thank you guys so much for sharing that. And look at that. Toronto Freddy dropping $2 Canadian. Says da boys.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, your channel. I was butting in there. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say with Toronto Freddy, he turned me on to a channel called Haddonfield Radio recently. And oh my God, Toronto Freddy. I love that channel so much. I reached out to those guys. We're going to get them on Late Night with the Davey, and we're going to talk some Halloween topics. If you guys haven't checked them out, they do like feature-length commentaries of all the Halloween movies. They've done A Nightmare on Elm Street, and now they're going through Friday the 13th. And it's like, you know, hardcore fans with really interesting tidbits and great insight and like perspective into some of like deeper meaning and fun stuff. So it's like, if you're a hardcore fan, it's a really, really engaging commentary to listen to. And thank you so much, Toronto Freddy, and thank you for the $2. Now, Jenks, what were you going to butt in on?
I was just going to say about Curtis, like I make fun of him a lot, right? Because you got terrible taste. But I will say one thing: he was born in the wrong decade. His love of old shit, the 80s, Italian movies, you know, really. Sort of, I mean, I don't make fun of the Italian stuff because that's quite classy. But he's kind of gone back further than I have, even though
younger
than me, if that makes sense. I kind of stopped, like 85, and that's as far as I go now.
I'm kind of like, you know, I was born in 82, but I have 4 older siblings. So, you know, I would play with their like hand-me-down toys. So even though Transformers was big in like 83 and 84, like those were the toys I played with when I started playing with toys. And then, you know, the love of like older cinema and older music and older, you know, comic books and all that, like that's definitely, you know, kind of similar for me. So I think that's one of the, you know, I think that's just one of the reasons why, you know, we relate and vibe so well, you know, between me and you guys.
Yeah.
And so, you know, with our topic of discussion here, I want to jump into the poll really quick before we jump in. I thought we could do sort of a general conversation about these 4 topics, like what creates a timeless horror icon. We have 46% say the look and presentation, 31% say the personality or lack thereof, 15% are saying creative kills, and 8% say theme music, and that's 26 votes so far. So, you know, Curtis and Jenks, you know, when you guys think about what creates, you know, a timeless horror icon, is there a certain characteristic or something that stands out to you in particular above everything else that helps create that timelessness?
For me, I think it's like they're kind of unstoppable. I don't mean they're like sort of like that. Killers for me, when they're always one step ahead of the victim, that's when it's horrible. When they're smart. I'm not a big fan of sort of Michael Myers. I don't know how smart he is. He's just kind of relentless killing. But I do like ones that are always one step ahead, like Freddy, for example.
Sure.
I always believe, like, every time like somebody comes into the dream world and they take him on, I always believe that if he wanted to, he could just end it. But he's so smart and calculated that he's enjoying toying with them.
Yes.
That's how I feel. That's why I've always gravitated towards Freddy, maybe one of my favorites.
He's got that sadistic joy about him,
definitely.
you know?
You know, I've always been really attracted to looks, and it's similar in life. I mean, if you fancy someone, you're attracted to them, you'll be drawn towards them. I have the same with horror icons. I've always followed the horror icons more than the survivors themselves, and I think a lot of people can agree if you're a horror fan. But if we look at Jason, I mean, he's an absolute badass. He's got the best kills, the best score. That score by Harry Manfredini is just insane. Everything together just made those films perfect. And for me, Jason is the ultimate killer. The hockey mask, everything, the face. It's all about the looks for me.
The loose sack.
Yeah, the loose sack.
the loose smelly sack.
Oh yeah, on Sunday show. Yeah, it was a good point. But how smelly is it?
the first thing I look at, like for instance, I just watched the trailer for the new summer camp slasher by Finn Wolfhard. And the first thing I wanted to see was, how does the killer look? What's that mask look like? That's my instant attraction, how they look. And I feel like that's why, not to get ahead of ourselves, I'm sure we're going to talk about him, but that's what's attracted me to art. He's been the first killer in a long time that's really captured my imagination by his actions and the way he looks. I think it's a hard task to do, to get people to fall in love with a horror icon, considering how many great ones there are out there. It's a hard task to do, and I think he's on his way. But that's definitely a selling point for me, is how the horror icon looks.
You've got to have that like staying power too, you know. It's like, so even if a killer looks great in like one movie, if you don't have, you know, 3 to 4 to 5 movies, like you can't even have the icon conversation, really, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because look at Jeepers Creepers. We've 2 great movies. We've got a great iconic original monster. And then it's all downhill after that. They didn't do a third one for a long time. Third one comes out, it's crap. And then they do another one, that's even worse.
Really.
And it's a forgotten franchise now. I feel like if that franchise was managed better, you're talking about him being up there with the best of them. I feel like the first 2 movies are perfect horror movies with a great monster.
And it's... Go ahead, Jenks.
I was just going to say, like with Freddy, for example, we mentioned it before. I kind of wish that Wes Craven had managed the whole series. Like it was like it had been his baby from the start, at least 1, 2, and 3, because he was passed over. It's a very fractured series. You know, you got ups and downs, but in general, I think if it was his baby, he was writing it, or he was in charge of the writers, I think it would have been like a Scream, where relatively Scream has been pretty consistent because they've had Wes Craven the vast majority of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, it's interesting with because Wes did come back, and did he help produce Dream Warriors, right? He produced it, or
wrote it as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think Frank Darabont might have written the script, but he wrote like the outline or the story or something like that. And so yeah, it is sort of weird with those first 3 movies, because in the second movie, like the lore isn't locked in. So Freddy, like his powers in the second movie, they're just sort of like kind of making them up. And then in Dream Warriors, it feels like, okay, now we're back to like the Freddy we knew from the first film, and we're just gonna like he's gonna be like that Freddy. We're sort of leaving behind the one from Freddy's Revenge. And I mean, a lot of people talk about that Nancy Thompson trilogy, where they just sort of think of it as like original Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors, and then Wes Craven's New Nightmare is sort of like the, you know, that single story there.
Yeah, I was oh, sorry, Jenks. I was just about to say, Dream Warriors is the true sequel. I've always seen Dream Warriors to be the true sequel to the first one. And the second one just being a solo movie. Kind of like you said on our live the other day, Davey, about counting original Halloween and then Halloween Kills, and ends being an anthology movie. Well, to me, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is an anthology film, just a separate story. Completely different in tone from the first movie. And then the third movie, we go right back into that world. Nancy's back, and it's got that same tone as the first one. Don't get me wrong, I like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. I think it's got heaps of charm. But I think Part 3 is the true sequel to the first one.
Yeah, I think with the second one, do you know when he comes out in that barbecue, the pool party? Well, it's strange because it's a cool scene. He's slaughtering everybody, but it's like, but you're less powerful in the real world. Why would you want to come out? You're so
you're exposed.
You're a god in the dream world. Why would you still want to come out into that?
It's like it's like
they just Jason going into the water, like, do you know what I mean? To kill people. It's like
they just didn't really know. They're just like, well, it'll be cool to see him like slaughter a bunch of kids at a pool party, and you know, he does deliver that iconic line in that scene as well. You know, the "You are all my children now," like that kind of thing. And
he's got the flame behind him in the arms. It's such
it's amazing. Scene. Yeah. Well, and so, you know, thinking of like talking about the look and everything. Yeah, I mean, you know, we can sort of, if you guys want to, maybe we can take each one of these topics and sort of, you know, pick some icons to discuss. I mean, man, obviously the look of Freddy, like the sweater and the fedora and the glove are, you know, iconic in and of themselves. But there is something really amazing about, you know, you were talking about consistency of how nice it was to have Wes Craven through most of the Scream series. How about the consistency of Robert Englund playing a character all the way through that series? That's something that we haven't seen in Halloween. We've never gotten in Friday the 13th. Arguably the best Jason is in the, you know, worst movies, even if they're enjoyable movies. Like if you stack them up against the others, they don't compare as far as like real quality goes. But to have Robert Englund, that whole like stage training, that like Bob Fosse dancer thing, there's a lot of asymmetric, you know, he does a lot of like, if you cut a silhouette out, you would absolutely know it's Freddy. And to me, that's sort of like an iconic kind of thing too. So, you know, what do you like, is there something I'm missing there as far as like that look goes of Freddy, or what do you guys, I mean, we've sort of dove into Freddy, but I mean, if one of you guys wants to tackle like, you know, creative kills, that's like another thing with Freddy that sort of makes that whole series iconic.
I think with Freddy, what makes him stand out with his look compared to the other ones is that they kind of nailed it straight away. I know his mask went shit. Like I think, well, it didn't go shit. I think number 6 is terrible look. It's the worst it's looked. But I remember it looking a lot worse in number 5. But we watched it recently and it didn't look too bad. But the irony is his mask looked the best. His makeup looked the best in the second one. He looks like a witch. But he's never altered. Like Jason, to me, Jason looked the best in number 7. When like the spine. He has
the ribs and the chain.
He looked good in 6 as well. But I think 7 to me is the perfect, and that's 7 films there. Now before he looked the best. It's quite a lot of films.
Yeah, and then the difference between like, I mean, shit, Jason in part 2, 3, and 4 looks completely different in each movie. You've got like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
slender sackhead Jason in overalls. You've got Richard Brooker with his giant lats, and then you've got Ted White's like kind of slow, like old man Jason that like grunts. It's like sort of all over the place there.
Well, this is the thing, and they tried to do it with Robert Englund. I don't think there was ever a plan to bring him back for the sequel. It was just going to be played by someone else. I don't think they realized how iconic he would go on to be.
Yeah.
The problem with Jason is that you can just do that because he's behind makeup and a mask and he doesn't speak. The problem is if you make a successful movie, if you want to hire that actor back, he's going to cost double of what you paid him last time. So they can just keep recycling him until Kane Hodder came along with that breathing and the posture, everything he brought, the physicality he brought to Jason in those later films. They have to bring him back, and he's the first person to do it in 7 films where they've gone, right, we need to bring this guy back because he absolutely nailed it. I mean, Jason Part 4 is my favorite Jason movie, my favorite look of Jason, everything. But 7, growing up, I had all the figures of 7. If I was buying a Jason figure, it was always Jason from Part 7 with that exposed spine and the rips. I loved it.
Yeah, that was when I saw those movies first on like television. That was the one where I was like, I loved it. Like, I mean, you're not really missing out on the kills because they're pretty much edited for television anyways, pretty much. So you miss out on some boobage, you know, a little bit of language and some boobs. There's a good couple pair in that movie. But yeah, immediately I loved like I always thought of Tina. I was like, oh, she's like Jean Grey, because that was like, I was into like comics and all that stuff at that time. So I didn't really think of it as like Carrie so much. I was like, ooh, she has telekinesis. Like that's such a fun little matchup and everything. And with Jason, you were saying, Kurt, you were saying, the music, the Harry Manfredini music and the kills. You said he has the best kills. Now with the music, you prefer Friday the 13th score over something like the Halloween theme?
Oh, absolutely not. No chance.
Okay.
John Carpenter's theme from Halloween is the greatest put together score of all time. I mean, you hear the stories about that movie being screened to a private audience before John Carpenter had done that score, and it had terrible reviews. Nobody was scared. Everybody walked out disappointed. John Carpenter goes away, puts together that score, and not just the score, just every sound in that movie that he put into it. And it's a completely different movie. Now, I would love to watch the version without the score just to see the difference, but it just goes to show the power of John Carpenter's music is insane. In every single movie he's done, when he's done the music for it, it's something else. I think I love Ennio Morricone's score in The Thing, but it's lacking John Carpenter. Sorry to go off topic, boys. Start talking about John Carpenter and like.
Well, The Thing is arguably his greatest film, so it's okay to bring it up.
Yes, exactly. But he obviously didn't do the score for The Thing. They brought in Ennio Morricone, and I would have loved to have seen The Thing with a good old sci-fi John Carpenter score as well.
Yeah, I think you forget like how good Elm Street score is. That theme is incredible. When we watched 6 the other day, right? We got a review out today, right? And
I'm sorry.
The film is a piece of shit, right? The film is a piece of shit. We had so much fun doing the review because, it's good fun doing a review of something that's really iconic and like Return of the Living Dead, and you can poke fun a little bit, but with this we just poke fun for 20 minutes. But anyway, the thing I did notice was like how good the theme was. I thought, it's the only good thing. They've kept the theme throughout each one. And I don't know who did the theme. It's brilliant, but yeah, it's an awesome one. I do think John Carpenter's Halloween is more iconic though. Definitely.
Yeah. What's really cool about that Elm Street theme. I'm just mixing words together now.
For a podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Nightmare on Elm Street. So the cool thing about that theme is it does, because Freddy is, a child murderer, that theme feels like a nursery rhyme.
Yeah.
Like the some certain melodies just make you feel certain things. Like that's the reason why certain Christmas songs just like they just have like a Christmas song melody. And then when you hear that theme, that like all those, like to me, it's very like nursery rhymish. So it's sort of like it alludes to what Freddy is. And yeah, I mean, Halloween without that theme, it would be so bizarre. And I even think that what Carpenter and his godson and son did for the latest trilogy, I think it's so tough to pick like which one of those is the best, because each one of those soundtracks is absolutely amazing. And I can't believe that he could come back 40 years after doing that original theme and find a way to sort of reinvent it and make it, even better. Yeah. And not just like you were saying, Kurt, not just the theme, but those stings that he does and everything like that just really kind of sell in the movie. Because, let's be honest, the very first Halloween movie is like a relatively slow burn until like that last 15 minutes or so. But there's so much tension that's built basically from the music and from the look of Michael. So to bring in another icon, that's very much different than an icon like Freddy. I mean, let's talk about no personality. One of the things that I love about Michael, and I know other people have said this before, is the mask it's unremarkable. You sort of put your own emotion and your own fear into the mask. It's almost like, especially in the first film, like every time you see the mask, because of the lighting, it looks completely different. So to me, it like Michael Myers' mask is almost like a Rorschach test. It's one of those like bizarre, like it's unremarkable, yet it's so chilling and scary. Like, what is it like when you guys, watch a movie like, like Halloween or anything in that series? Like, what about, I know, Jenks, you said you're not the biggest fan of Michael, but, if you agree that he is an icon, like, what do you guys think really makes him like truly iconic?
Yeah, well, for me, I'm not a fan of the films, but I'm a fan of him. The only thing I don't like about the movies is the inconsistency. Is he supernatural? He's not meant to be, but he's pretty much behaving like he's supernatural. At least with Jason, they give in and go, yeah, fuck it, he's a zombie.
Yes.
But I'm a stickler for, at least with Freddy, he is supernatural from the word go. And I think I almost feel like they wanted Michael be supernatural so they could get away with more resurrections and shit like that, but they had to contend with like he survived somehow. Somehow Palpatine returned. And
well, oh god, don't get me talking about Star Wars. I'll bring you guys back and we can talk about Star Wars, because I got some fucking shit to say about that. God damn.
They cut his head off in H2O, and you're like, okay. And the whole point of that scene was that it's over. She's killed him. She chopped his head off. And then it made so much money, they thought, oh, let's make another one. Let's pretend it's a copycat. Oh, fuck off. Oh, no, you can't do that. You can't do it. But as a cool look, the mask is great. Most of the time is great. And yeah, you're right. I think it's I know Jason's mask is like expressionless, but because there's so much cracks and stuff, it's not, it's got a bit of life. But with Michael's, it's just cold and emotionless. And and you feel like you couldn't reason with it. It's like, it's silent and you can't reason. There's nothing on it.
Michael it's truly like when you think of the way like a sociopath is, and they talk about people that show no remorse or no emotion. Michael is just, he's an accentuated version of that for the purpose of, making a slasher film. What do you got, Kurt?
Do you know what? Halloween is the only slasher to ever scare me, and watching it at a certain age, obviously watching these films from a young age, and I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, all of them. None of them ever scared me. None of them ever had a lasting impact in that sense. I loved the movies. I couldn't get enough of them. But Halloween, I was petrified of it. Like we said, that score and just the lore around Michael Myers, the boogeyman, and how much he gets hyped up in that movie as this unstoppable force with only one mode, kill, and that's it. I love that they don't dive too much into his backstory like they did with Rob Zombie's ones. He was just born evil. That's it. We get that little glimpse at the start of him young. Obviously, we know he killed his family.
Yes.
And now he's escaped from this mental institution, and he's got one more to kill. And I just love the lore around him that he's nothing more than a boogeyman. He's not human.
Yes.
He's nothing. There's nothing left in him. And that terrified me. I was petrified of Halloween. I think the first few times I'd watched it, I didn't even finish it. And that's why Halloween to me is one of the greatest slashers ever made, because I'm not scared of slashers. I'm not scared of killers.
Yeah.
Ghost movies have always been the ones that got really under my skin. And it's just stayed that way. I mean, if something scared you when you're a kid, it just kind of stays with you. And every time I watch Halloween, I still get that uneasy feeling. And it's not just down to Michael himself. It's the direction, the cinematography, the pacing. It's just a perfect horror movie, which belongs in the history books where it is. But yeah, everything about him, man. I love the lore. I love the character. It's just a great film.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that for me, you know, every time I watch it, it kind of scares me more because it seems so true to life. Like not every serial killer wears a mask, but the stalking that he does, and he waits and bides his time and looks for an opportunity. One of the most chilling things that Ted Bundy ever said when he was being interviewed is he said, like, you know, what I do is relatively easy if you wait for the right opportunity. Like that's what he told the police.
Yeah.
He made it sound like, you know, because he never admitted to how many people, but some people think it could be between 40 and 70 people that he had in his run, and it took him years and years to get caught. So it's like one of those chilling things about you wait for that opportunity, and that's exactly what Michael does. He just sits there and and watches and waits. And Evil Alex said something, you know, he says Myers is human but has a supernatural edge to him. Don't need more explanation. And that's
I agree with you, Alex.
Yeah, and Jenks, that's essentially what you know, Carpenter's always said. He's like, he's a force of nature, he's human, and he's supernatural. You know, so it's like both of those things exist together. And I am so like, I really, like Aaron says here, you know, the line that they toe is whether or not he is, and they've shown that he is a little bit too much lately. But I'm right with you, Kurt, where I like to me, the mystery is the most important part of Michael Myers. I'm fine, like Freddy having the lore, they explain the lore in the first film. Jason having the lore, you learn the lore in the first film. So it's like, it's okay if you spoil the mystery right away, that's totally all right. But with Michael, it's like, I want that mystery intact. I never want them to really let us know. Like Laurie can say, as he kills, he transcends. It's like, she's not a friggin' authority on like what his power. That's just something she's saying, you know. I like that it's sort of up to the audience to sort of interpret that, you know, when it comes to Michael.
It's like with, you know, do you remember I don't want to go into like, well, I suppose we can go into anything like Hannibal Lecter, but they did the prequel Rising Hannibal. Yeah. I'm thinking, I don't need to see him as a kid and why he became a cannibal. Like, I think they ate his sister in front of him in the war or something. And I'm like, he can just be a psycho. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's enough. No,
prequels, to me, prequels are just, they're so unnecessary. Like if you already gave us the part of the story that was the hook, you're only going back because you're lazy, because there's nothing that we're going to go back to that's going to reveal any sort of like shocking secret we didn't know. Just move the story forward. That's why, like, even though everyone was like, Furiosa was a fun movie, I'm like, I'm way more interested in seeing how Furiosa deals with leading her people. And maybe she finds out that she has to sort of be like a Morton Joe in certain ways to kind of like control stuff. And it's kind of an Animal Farm. Like, do you end up becoming does the oppressed become the oppressor? Instead of going back and being like, let's have her find out how she gets her arm and shaves her head. And like, I don't care. Like with Han Solo, I don't care how Han Solo like gets his gun from Woody Harrelson. Jesus.
It's like Saw. How many origin stories did Jigsaw have?
Yeah.
They kept trying to bring him back all the time, like in flashback. And his motives kept changing every single film. Thinking, he just needs one, and that's it.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Is it his cancer, his wife's cancer? Is it another family member? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, because they changed the law that he'd been pushed, his girlfriend had been pushed into the door and she'd lost a baby, and that's why he decided to kill.
That's what it was.
Oh, I thought it was the cancer. No.
Yeah.
Change your mind now. And that. Double
and
whammy.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Sorry. I
No,
want to
no, go
know
ahead.
though, with Michael, does he do a scary movie thing of when she looks away? Does he run quickly behind a bush? Because whenever they look back, he does a Batman and he's vanished. So is he
Yeah.
going like behind
Well,
the bin?
and what's really weird about that one with the I think you might be talking about the clotheslines one.
Yeah, yeah.
She's looking at him the whole time. It's just the camera that cuts to her. She's
Is it?
locked in on him. So it's almost like she is just starting to see him because she saw him behind the hedge. She's just having like paranoia that he's there. So I don't even know if he's really there.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean that joke in Scary Movie is so good when you see the ghost fish run behind the. Have you seen it?
I saw the original Scary Movie like once way back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
the biggest fan of those movies.
well, she looks out the window and she sees ghost fish in the on the grass on the lawn, and then she looks away, but you see him and running behind the tree, and she looks back and he's gone. And you see
Yeah.
that's what Michael must have been doing all those times.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Michael's like, "Zoop, I'm out." Yeah, and I love, especially in that first film, like the more and more I watched it, we get higher fidelity copies of it and everything. There were like a couple times where I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know you could see Michael through like the tiny window in the laundry room, like watching Annie. Like I missed that on like VHS as a kid. And then you see it on like DVD and Blu-ray, and I'm like, oh damn, he's in the movie a lot more. Like they are sneaky, sort of like, I don't know if you guys have seen The Descent. Like every time I watch The Descent, I see the creatures more and more in the background where I'm like, shit, they were really sneaky about putting those creatures in the back. Like you're focused on the human character. You don't even see the thing like it distant in the shadows,
I want to see a prequel to that.
Yeah.
A prequel to that?
Yeah.
Gone back to, and it's something I'll always look deeply into when I'm rating a film, is rewatchability. How much rewatch value has it got? And if you find these movies that have layers like that, and if you can go back in and watch a movie for the 10th time and find something new, that for me elevates a movie to something different.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, sometimes I find myself like the third time I watch a movie, I'm like, oh damn, this movie's shit. I just like it tricked me. Like, I'm not like I liked Donnie Darko the first time I watched it, and by the third time I was like, this movie has no idea what it's doing with the time travel stuff. It's treating its audience like a bunch of dicks. And and then there's a movie like, Halloween Ends, where I'm like, I really liked it the first time, and then I love it even more every time I watch it since then. It just keeps on growing on me.
There's a few films I watched. Like I watched Nosferatu a few weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. And then it was one of those ones I didn't even have to watch it again. I had to just think about it, and I kind of like liked it less. A little bit like Alien Romulus. I thought it was good. Didn't like the ending, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I just don't like it. It can happen without even watching it sometimes. Just
it can, if you analyze it for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. We've got Horror in the chat. What's happening, Horror? I think a fellow UK member out there. She says this is probably quite basic, but I love Ghostface the most. The fact Ghostface can be anyone is great. The voice is just so creepy, and each killer's personality comes out in the dialogue. So that's kind of a good transition if we do a little ping pong from like killer with personality, killer with sort of like a blank slate. Ghostface is pretty damn unique. We've never seen a Ghostface that goes from one movie to the next. I would love to see that in the Scream franchise, where maybe we don't find out who the killer is and it's kind of like a two-parter. I think that would be really interesting. But yeah, Ghostface, I mean, especially in that first movie, it's funny because when you watch the first Scream now, it's sort of obvious. But that's because we know what Scream has become. But when it came out in 1996, we didn't think about revenge slashers, whodunit slashers that would have multiple killers. It was just one of those things that we didn't really consider. And I think Ghostface, it kind of hits those points of, massive personality, and the look and the presentation as well. Like, maybe it is, iconic in the fact that it's very stark in contrast. Maybe the kills aren't the most creative for Ghostface, but I do think, Ghostface has surely become an icon. What do you guys think about Ghostface?
We're talking about different actors playing different versions. Well, in Scream, it's a different actor because it's a different killer every movie, but
Mhm.
they've used the same voice actor for every single film, which
Yes.
technically it's been one person playing Ghostface in every single movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a basic choice. I think Ghostface is awesome. I've enjoyed.
Yes.
I think that's one of the most consistent franchises. You're coming up to 6 films now, and I didn't think the 6th one was one of the best, but it wasn't Freddy's Dead. You know,
Yeah. No, they haven't had
Yeah.
a stinker. They haven't had a
I don't
stinker.
think so.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's yeah, I know what you can say the kills are pretty basic. It's just stabbing, but
Mhm.
I think it's awesome. I think it's to keep that franchise going all those years and to still, because like you said with the first one, you weren't trying to guess, you weren't used to it.
Mhm.
By the
Yeah.
third one, they made the killer so obscure because they were afraid you'd guess that nobody gave a shit then when he was revealed. Like as if,
Yes.
oh, he was the garbage man. What garbage man? Oh, he was in it earlier.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. Like Roy in A New Beginning, you're sort of like, they kind of make it obvious, but like, who the hell is this guy? He's just some random guy. Or not even seeing Pamela until she reveals herself as the killer, pretty much, you know?
Yeah, it's and same with like the Sixth Sense, for example. We weren't trying to guess twists back then.
Mhm.
Now we're
Yes.
most people are primed to guess a twist, so you have to be even
Mhm.
smarter.
Yeah, it's you know, Scream, man. Thank God for Scream, because slashers were at such a weird place, and it was a real, like, I think it's really cool. Speaking of Scream, we got our guy Happy Sanjo with the 199 super chat. Thank you so much, Coy. So Happy was a guest on the show just a couple weeks ago, and we did a deep dive into the first 3 Scream films, and he really did his homework on like the thematic elements. And you know, one of the points that he brought up is he sort of saw, you know, this was like Wes Craven kind of doing a dismantling of the slasher subgenre. He was like, you know what? I had a hand in it with Freddy, and now I'm going to deconstruct it with Scream. So sort of like a fresh opportunity to take a look at it, but also sort of take it apart and be like, this is what's dumb about this subgenre, and this is how we can kind of make it fresh again. And I think that's such a rare thing. You know, you can't say that about John Carpenter. Like John Carpenter, yes, many different genres and subgenres of film and many amazing movies in his career. But for Wes to jump back into slashers and create yet another icon that not ushered in an entire new era of slashers and copycats of that movie. You know, it's Go ahead, Jenks.
I think he sort of toyed with it with A New Nightmare, isn't it? That met sort of with his own creation, but yeah, I think he really thought that was a smart move, and when did that come out? New Nightmare,
94.
Yeah, so only 2 years apart from Scream.
Yeah,
so he must have had that in the back burner
for sure. Yeah, he definitely kind of brought that feel over there. What do you got, Kurt?
On Scream.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, I zoned out a bit.
not a fan. Not a fan, I guess. No,
no, do you know what? I just like Scream. If that makes sense, it's
good review.
I just like.
I just like Scream. See you next week, guys.
Yeah. So Scream's never been. Scream's never been a franchise that I've been obsessed with, that I've followed very closely. I've seen every Scream movie, and when a new Scream film comes out, I'll go to cinema to watch it, like I did with 4, 5, and 6. They're the last 3 that I was able to see in cinema. And I like them, but I've never done a deep dive into the history. I couldn't name you any of the characters from any of the films apart from the main 3, I'd say. And it's just a franchise that I go back to maybe every 5 or 6 years. I'll fancy them and I'll jump back in.
Yeah.
So I would definitely not be good at a deep dive, but I will say Ghostface is as iconic as they come. I feel like even though it's a different killer, every movie, it's one identity and it's Ghostface, regardless, until that killer is revealed at the end. It's one identity. Every time the film comes on, you see Ghostface. It's not, oh, who's that? No, you know who it is. It's Ghostface.
I think
that is a pretty interesting thing that they do there, because Ghostface does seem consistent, even though it's usually 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like you said, Jenks, it is definitely the most consistent franchise. I wasn't a massive fan of 6, but there isn't one terrible movie. I just had a little bit of fatigue by the time 6 came round, and when the reveal came at the end, I just rolled my eyes a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh
but
God,
it's
that third act ripped me out of the movie.
yeah,
I was
exactly,
so
mate.
distracted for the whole rest of the movie.
yeah.
But yes, I like Scream, but it's like we're talking about Friday the 13th, which is my favorite horror franchise of all time. That has been something that I go back to yearly, a couple of times a year. But Scream, I like them and I go back every few years.
You know what's
Yeah.
frustrating about number 6 is that the trailer was so exciting. He had the old mask, like a battered mask. And I thought,
Yeah,
oh,
the Halloween 2018 mask.
yeah. And I just thought,
Basically, yeah.
I thought, oh, they've never done that. Every time there's a Scream, there's always a fresh mask. I thought, oh, that's great. And he had a shotgun. I thought it looks so fucking cool when he's in that shop. And then the rest then just went generic. And like I said, the third act with the reveal was so crap. And when they were like monologuing the villains, they were overdoing it. I can't even remember what their motive was. Some shit.
The motive is that one of the killers from the 5th movie is their brother / son.
Yeah, Huey from The Boys in there.
Yeah,
It's really, really convoluted, and it's like it was so frustrating. I felt like they pulled the rug out from the audience there, and I was like, now that's all I'm thinking about is that you guys screwed up the killer reveal.
You know, the opening took me out of it as well. When you've got Samara Weaving, her entry into it, and you've got I say fake killers. None of them. They're all fake killers. But that opening scene where you see the two guys who are going to be Ghostface this time, but they get taken out early in the film, that took me out of it as well because they set up this story and then it's gone. No,
I thought it was good. I thought it's not number 6, so I figured, oh, that's quite cool. They've never done that before. I liked Samara Weaver in it because she was like a kind of a big star, like the Drew Barrymore of the first one, where you just didn't expect her to die that quick, you know. I rewatched number 1 not long ago, and I forgot how violent it was. That opening scene. You always think Scream's quite lame, and it's just a guy with a knife, but it's horrible. Some of the stab wounds are disgusting.
Oh, and there's like 2 disembowelments in the first scene. You know, like Steve it looks like they shot his knees out with a gun or sliced his tendons, and then they gut him, and then they gut Drew Barrymore and hang her from the tree. It is very, very grotesque. And I think Scream, super solid. 5 and 6, not really my thing. But again, I don't think they're stinkers. I think Toronto Freddy said that they're both stinkers. I don't know quite that I go that far, but Radio Silence is definitely a duo that doesn't really resonate with me as an audience member. Like, I just think that what they do is okay. They never seem to like really get me. Like Abigail's another example where I'm like, the movie's fine enough. It's just like, it's like a C+ B- for me. It's just like, and that's kind of how I feel about Scream 5 and 6. Now another.
What about Red? You're not a fan?
That's the only one of theirs I haven't seen.
It's really good.
I've heard that might be their best. Yeah, I heard that might be their best.
It's very similar in tone with Abigail. It's very similar, actually. Similar kind of house, similar everything. But I really liked Abigail. I know you said before you didn't enjoy it, but I thought it was excellent. I've seen it twice now, and I thought it was better the second time round. Thought that little girl was amazing, and the big guy. What's his name now? Peter something.
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name, but I thought there were some really charming performances there. I did like. There's a lot of aspects that remind me of House on Haunted Hill '99, and I liked those aspects. Where it's like a ragtag group of people that don't know each other, so there's a bunch of like comedic interactions, and they're stuck in this place, and there's some sort of danger in the place that they can't escape, and so like those are the aspects I liked. I did like the blood explosion when the vampires get killed. That I'm a huge Evil Dead fan, and Dead Alive, and all that. Like, so I'll take a good blood explosion. But there also were like 3 sort of like story reveals in the last 20 minutes where I just started rolling my eyes. I'm like, oh, another change in the plot. Like, stop it. This is not Return of the King. I don't need like 5 endings here. And I certainly don't need Abigail like befriending Melissa Barrera's character. And I didn't need to be reminded every 10 minutes that she's a junkie with a child. It was like they don't trust the audience to remember anything in that movie. Sorry.
My favorite bit is when she first starts floating, and the big guy Peter rugby tackles her mid-air. I just thought I've never seen that on any film where they got a vampire floating, being tackled mid-air. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
They did do some really fun stuff there. Yeah, for sure. But that's what I mean is sort of like radio silence kind of like walks me to the edge where I'm like, I like it. I'm just like not falling in love. And you know, going from a consistent franchise like Scream, there's another really consistent franchise out there. I don't know if I guess we can kind of have the conversation of are these things iconic? But when you look at something like The Evil Dead that has been controlled by the same 3 producers, throughout the television show and what we're at 5 films now. Do you guys consider, like, are the Deadites, would you consider that iconic? Is there something about the Evil Dead series that you would consider iconic, or I'm just grasping at straws here?
I'd say Ash is iconic, but I don't know about the villains. It's quite hard to lock onto a specific villain,
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about horror icons, Ash himself is a horror icon. But if we're just looking at the villains, to me, there's only been 2 Deadites in the history of Evil Dead that would stand out to me as horror icons, and we're talking about performances as well.
Yeah.
Alyssa Sutherland from Evil Dead Rise, a massive standout in Evil Dead franchise for me. Jane Levy, obviously Evil Dead 2013, incredible. Yeah. And sorry, you've got Ted Raimi as Henrietta as well from Evil Dead 2. What
about Evil Ash?
Yeah, Evil Ash is great, but it's a comedic role. I love the character, but if we're talking about like horror performances and horror icons, I'd have to give it to Alyssa Sutherland. By far, the best Deadite Evil Dead have done. What a performance in that film!
But I'd say with the Deadites, they're probably on a par to like Romero's The Zombies Are the Monsters, and it's hard to lock on to a specific. You might have a specific zombie in each film, but not as a horror icon. You've got good characters. That's it, I think.
Yeah, it is one. It is. Yeah, I'm probably grasping at straws on that. I guess I just love that franchise so much. And what I do love about the Deadites is I love the way that they go in and out of possession to toy with the next round of victims. They take over somebody you love, you feel like you've lost them, and then they leave, and then they come right back. And it's like this, there's all that. Yeah, I do think that the Deadites have plenty of personality. And I do think the Deadites, it's almost like the Deadites, it's one entity. It's like one demon that just like embodies a bunch of people, because the way that they act and the way they treat the people who are not possessed is very consistent, I think, throughout the franchise. I mean, other than Army of Darkness, where it's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
Talking about Evil Dead, literally today, probably just 2 hours ago, my daughter, who is 9, texted me. She's in a restaurant with her mother, and for some reason, the restaurant she's in, there's a painting on the wall, and it's a painting of a woman, and she's kind of looking down, and her eyes look white over. And I got a text from a 9-year-old daughter saying, "Dad, doesn't this look like a Deadite?" And it was like the most proud I've ever been of my daughter.
Yeah, proud dad moment.
You have a tea in your eye again.
Yeah, literally. Just getting a text on. She's like, "Dad, doesn't this look like a Deadite?" I was like, yes.
Those are the moments we all hope we can have with our children,
Yes. Yeah.
For me though, Henrietta stands tall. She is the greatest Dead. I love
Evil Dead 2.
Melissa. From Melissa. She's brilliant, but Henrietta is my favorite. Probably my favorite. I know she's not quite a zombie, but my favorite looking zombie. Her and Tarman, 2 top tier.
Well, and that's the thing too. Is so are the Deadites zombies, or is it just a non-religious possession film? Because that's kind of how I think of it as.
Yeah,
I've had enough, right? I've had it up to you with the Jenks calling Deadites zombies. They're not zombies, Jenks.
Yeah, I think I did when I first got into the series. I sort of thought of them that way, and then the older I got, I was like, well, wait a minute, they're not really, because they can go in and out,
right?
Even though and you can't shoot them shooting them in the brain doesn't kill them. You have to completely dismember them. So it is an interesting conversation.
They're 2 different different entities altogether. Like deadites are deadites, zombies are zombies. They're
But
not.
what I mean when I say that, I know they're not zombies, as in
They're
like
not
a
Romero
zombie.
zombies.
Yeah, what I mean is they're rotten like a zombie. So yes, I would never put an Evil Dead 2 in a zombie category in a million years. It
Yeah.
would be possession or just general horror. But they've got zombie like look. So Henrietta is a corpse come back to life. So she's classified
Sure.
as a zombie. She might be
Yeah.
possessed, but she's rotten to the core.
Sure.
Same with Evil Ash. Same with all the skeletons. They are zombies. It's a zombie army come back possessed.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, that they are dead and there's something that's controlling them. And even when Ash is able to overcome the Deadite in him, you know, in Evil Dead 2, in Army of Darkness, he does have to. It does come out of him and becomes its own entity. That's the only way he's able to avoid like a permanent possession. They're a little loose. Fast and loose with the lore in Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, but they seem to have sort of gotten it back on the rails. But again, Jane Levy becomes possessed and same sort of thing. The embodiment of her possession ends up becoming its own creature in Evil Dead 2013. And guys, if you love Evil Dead, Jamie Hart, our original Death Squad mod, she and I are hopping on live at 10 p.m. Eastern on Friday, and we are going to do a deep dive into Evil Dead. So
I'll be there.
She is massively passionate about the series, as am I. So we'll dive into this topic again and talk about, you know, the whole series. It'll be a lot of fun. So
it's the greatest horror series ever.
Yeah, it's the most consistent, and it's I'm so excited about where it could go. I love that, you know, Sam, Rob, and Bruce are able to pick talent, like writing and directing talent that they see fit to tell their own Evil Dead story. I think that's a really cool way to go about. And I love that we're at the point now where it's like they can all be anthologies, and we know that the 3 books exist in the same universe. So we can have an Evil Dead film that takes place in any country in any time in human history. It would be, I mean, the possibilities are endless here. So very pumped about that.
I think Rise has really carved a path for that as well. Like, we know we can be taken away from the usual scenario and it can still work. So I feel like Rise was that step they needed to take. It made money, it did well, people loved it. I think we can go and do something even better. I think Evil Dead Burn is the next one. I think Sebastian Vanacek is going to knock that one out of the park.
Because Evil Dead Rise made like 150 million in the box office. That's crazy numbers. That's like more money than like the Marvels made, Captain Marvel 2. And that cost like 400 million to make. And like Evil Dead Rise cost like about, I think, 15 or 20 million or something like that.
Couldn't have cost much, because I think originally it was just going to go like straight to HBO Max. So they probably cut a lot out of the budget for that. And then when they realized, like, shit, I think we might have something here. You know? And they certainly did. I probably, in my ranking, I think I put it last. But again, I don't dislike any of those movies. You know, it's like
last.
And to me, it sort of walked up to the. I always want Evil Dead to push. And I felt like Evil Dead Rise didn't push. Like, I wanted to see something I hadn't seen in an Evil Dead film that, like, Evil Dead 2013 raised the bar to a very extreme level where I was like, oh my God, because the first film is my favorite in the franchise. I felt like 2013 really honored that and took it to another level. And I was like, man, I want Rise. The biggest moments in the movie were shown in the trailer for Rise. And I thought that because they showed like the glass coming through the neck and all that stuff, I was like, oh man, if that's what they're showing in the trailer, this movie's going to be fucking bonkers, you know? And I felt like a little reserved.
Yeah, this is what I find crazy about Rise, is that when I tell people about it, maybe someone who hasn't seen it, I'll always say it's tame compared to 2013. It's far from a tame movie. It is still... disgusting. You've still got that great Evil Dead going there, but if you put it up against Evil Dead 2013, I'd call it tame. It definitely held back more than 2013 did. Not to say I liked it any less.
But do you think though that maybe because 13 was so violent that if they try to push it again, they're gonna sort of paint themselves into a corner where they're gonna have to keep pushing to the point where it's going to get ridiculous. A bit like Art the Clown. There's a limit. Like, he's either going to have to keep steady, or is he going to have to keep pushing to the point where, like, oh, it's going to get ridiculous now. It's too much.
It certainly does make it. I guess what it does is it puts the next creator in a spot where it's like, how are you going to respect the IP, and how are you going to bring something unique and different? Like, how are you going to push the Deadites to a place they've never been before? Because luckily for Fede Alvarez, I think he's really, really good at seeing what makes an IP successful. Yeah. And then he can put his own spin on it. What he did in that movie, the God beams coming through the trees, making Jane Levy run in circles before those dramatic scenes. So she really was out of breath and didn't have to act. She hardly slept when they were making that movie. So I think that adds to the performance as well. And some of that's on the director for putting the performers. You put your performers in a position where you're going to get the performance that you want out of them. I think that's what really makes him stand tall as far as, quote unquote, younger directors, still building his career. So yeah, the onus is on Sebastian Vanacek to find something fresh and new to do with Evil Dead. I really hope, and we can move on from Evil Dead after this, because Jenks, I want to get to Art the Clown since you brought up the extremes and Art the Clown. But I really hope that Evil Dead Burn, I hope that the word burn means that we're doing like Salem witch trials, colonial America, and that we're going to find out that it wasn't witchcraft. It was that the church like opened up the book, and the book started possessing people, and they blamed the young women for witchcraft. I really, really hope, because I'd love to see Evil Dead in that sort of time and see how people deal with Deadites, in the, 1500s.
We saw it in Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Okay, 1500s, but colonial America, right? Instead of medieval,
The only thing I know is that we don't know much about Evil Dead Burn, but Sebastian Vanacek. And if you're a fan of French cinema, you'll know how bonkers their movies are, especially their horror films. Yeah. Sebastian Vanacek has said he is going to make the nastiest Evil Dead movie you could possibly think of. So
yes,
leave that up to your imagination. What that guy can muster up to do.
He wants you to feel shook coming out of the theater. He wants people to be questioning everything.
So this guy's going in, and he's going to top 2013. I think that's his goal.
That's bold. That is bold.
Davey, did you know that they speak Welsh at the start of Evil Dead 13?
Yeah, I know the woman is speaking. Yeah, the older woman speaking Welsh in the basement there. Yeah, and
she's really strange.
Yeah, it's sort of. I mean, I guess is that just because they're trying to tie the origins of the book to just like a more ancient time?
I think apparently they just. I think
like the way it sounded,
because I think in the subtitles it says, I think Curtis, it says it's Dutch or something. It didn't say it's a Welsh translation. They say it's Dutch. Is it Dutch? They say.
I can't remember that.
But they don't say Welsh translation. I think they just mumbo jumbo. They just found some Welsh words and thought they sound cool and ancient. Yeah. But yeah, it's really weird to hear. I don't speak Welsh, so I don't know what the fuck she was saying.
I would imagine not a lot of people do speak Welsh, and maybe they just picked it because they liked the way that it sounded. They just thought like, hey, no one's gonna really know, and this is a cool kind of creepy sound that sort of feels like it could be a derivative of English, but has something that just sort of is spooky about it. How about I mean, we don't have to dive into it, but greatest horror openings of all time. Holy shit. Evil Dead 2013 is right fucking up there.
Oh God, yeah. Well, that was my pick when we did a video, best openings of all time. I think Evil Dead 2013 has to be up there. I think it set the bar perfectly for what you were going to get for the rest of the film. Yeah.
And it's cool to see. I love those prologues that are sort of like, here, we're just going to show you the end of what one of these experiences is like. And then instead of doing a prequel, just here's how this shit usually goes. And then boom, now let's watch a group of people experience the whole thing. It's a really nice tease. Really, really fun stuff. But yeah, we can, now I'm all pumped up on Evil Dead. Can't wait to talk with Jamie about that on Friday, but let's jump over to what you had just brought up a few minutes ago there, Jenks, talking about, you get to a spot where you push the gore, then you're expected to push it even further every time. You paint yourself in a corner, and you had mentioned Art the Clown. And, I think that this is a hot button topic for people in the horror world. And I think depending on your age, people feel completely different about it. You know, is Art the Clown a horror icon? If he's not, what are we waiting for to finally say that he is? And even if we don't consider him an icon at this point, is there something about him that you still think could be described as iconic? You know, an aspect of him. Go for it, guys.
For me, right, it took me a while to get on the art bandwagon. I tried to watch the first one multiple times. I couldn't get into it. And then the second one rolled round. I didn't bother with it because I didn't like the first one. But then all of a sudden, art is everywhere. I'm seeing the box office numbers for Terrifier 2. I'm seeing all these great editions coming out. You know, you go to these horror cons, everyone's dressed up as art. And everyone who would ask me, obviously being the horror aficionado that I am, everyone would always ask me, like, what's Terrifier like? Have you seen Terrifier? And I'd always tell them, no, it's some crap indie horror film that people are raving about. I don't understand it. Yeah. And then the third one rolls round. I seen the trailer for it, and I thought, fucking hell, that looks really good. Yeah. And then I'm seeing all these reviews coming out about the second one. I started looking into the second one and the third one. And then I finished work one day. I watched Terrifier 2, and then we finished the film, and then me and my girlfriend went and watched Terrifier 3 in cinema the same night. And I was instantly under his spell. I finished the second one. I thought, oh my God, it's fantastic. It's exactly what I needed. I didn't want a deep story. I just want a great, iconic killer. And I didn't care about the story. And I wanted a great go. Third one topped it even more. You've got that opening scene and then the rest of the film that follows that. I think he's a horror icon. If you look at the last 20 years, I feel like Jigsaw, the Saw franchise, is the only horror franchise that's kind of made a lasting impact where people are following this, dressing up in horror conventions. That's always something I'd look at. Art is absolutely there. Yeah. Look how much money Terrifier 3 made. Oh my God. It's made I think it's made 180 million on a 2 million budget.
Yeah. For me.
Go for it, Jenks.
Go. I don't really like that movie. It was a bit too violent for the sake of violent, but whether he's a horror icon, I think he's not quite there yet, but he's definitely going to be one. But if the fourth one comes out, then there's no debate. I think I like the witch a little bit more, his partner in crime, the woman. I thought she was
cool. Vicky. Yeah. She's a Victoria, Vicky. Yeah, especially in the third movie, she really does take, a massive leap as far as it's basically a duo in that third film.
I thought she was brilliant. There was elements of the third one was excellent. I liked the fact that he's hibernating. He's on a seat for
Black Christmas hibernation
for 5 years. I thought that was really cool and creepy. But when my Curtis and I went to a horror con last year, and everybody was dressed up as Art the Clown. So that kind of says it. Whether I think he is or not, I think everyone's already decided.
Yeah, they got the shirts. I mean, 6 months before Terrifier 3 comes out, and people had the shirt of him wearing the Santa face, like as the beard and everything. So when I was going to conventions, this summer, it was like shitloads of people wearing Terrifier shirts and little kids dressed up as like the Pale Girl and stuff like that. And like, just that to me is sort of like, like Aaron says here, Art is definitely a horror icon. He's not quite a full-fledged pop culture icon, though. And that's something that I've heard Dave McCrae say quite a bit. And I tend to agree with, like, Dave always uses that term, like he hasn't reached the pop culture zeitgeist.
Yes.
And like Aaron says, my mother-in-law knows this name Freddy Krueger, but not Art the Clown. And so, I think that, you could consider him a horror icon because people in the know absolutely know who he is. But he hasn't broken that sort of, and maybe he will pretty soon. I mean, he's in the Ice Nine Kills music video and all that kind of stuff. So those are the things that helped like Freddy break out and helped Jason break out, was like Alice Cooper doing a video for Man Behind the Mask, and Freddy Krueger doing like Fat Boys music video, and like, and Dream Warriors by Dawkins. And, like those are the things that are sort of like, they were making like children's toys for Freddy Krueger when I was a kid. So it was like, they start appealing to, when you start appealing to children, you really have reached that pop culture. But art is, go ahead, Kurt.
sorry, mate. I agree. He's not an icon yet in terms of as Jamie states.
Yeah.
But he is definitely on his way. I'm a massive fan of 2 and 3. I did try and watch the first one again. I just can't get into it at all.
Yeah. The first
for me,
first one's like a demo tape.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the second one was more of what I liked, and then I watched that third one, and it was right up my street. I'm looking forward to seeing the fourth one, and I think if they continue this trend, I know he wants to do 2 more movies. I think if he makes another 2 hits, I think he's well on his way.
I think the appeal of him is that there's been a lack of a good horror icon for so long that people are just hungry and they're jumping on it. I think if there was another choice, I think another killer clown would have probably got lost in the mix. Because it's not that clever. And the kills are clever, but it's a clown. We've had loads of clowns over the years, but I think everyone was desperate for like a new Freddy, a new Jason.
Sure.
And yeah, it never happened. And even though like you said, Kurt, Jigsaw is iconic, he's not quite like a killer with a sword, with a knife. He's not somebody you can really lock onto. It's just the kills are good.
No, yeah. I think if you look at Billy the Puppet, I mean, how iconic is that? Regardless if he's just a puppet that rolls in and tells you what's going to happen to you and how to play the game. That's probably before art now and the resurgence we've had with horror. Billy specifically is probably the most recognizable horror icon in the last 20 years.
He is recognizable, but I think people gravitate to a killer with some kind of weapon, is actually physically killing people themselves. It's a bit like Final Destination. That's a really good horror franchise, but there's no killer other than death. You can't really lock on to anything other than like you might like the movies.
I get that.
I think with Art the Clown, you're like, oh, finally, we got a guy with a mask. He's killing people. Thank fuck.
Yeah. Exactly. That's how I felt about when Thanksgiving came out. I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm so happy we can go back to that early 80s revenge whodunit slasher. Obviously, John Carver is so far from being an icon at this point, but I do think that they've got the look and the style. If they put together, even if they just put together a really good trilogy of Thanksgiving movies and Eli Roth steers the whole ship and they just cap it at 3 movies, I think that the legacy could make him iconic down the road. But yeah, I sort of agree with what Jamie says here about, it seems like people were asking, like, by the time Terrifier 2 came out, people were saying he's an icon, and it's like you sort of do need that to gestate a little bit more before you start having that conversation, because then you get the pushback, and then the pushback lasts even longer.
You were saying about John Carver in Thanksgiving, fantastic film, and not just John Carver himself in that film, but you know what really made that film stand out is how unpredictable it could be and how different it was. And there's 2 scenes that stand out, just to jump into Thanksgiving there, Davey. There's one scene where it sold me, and I was like, right, this is my film. It's the girl, I think she's in a restaurant, she's been hunted in night, and she's running through the car park, and she's running towards the bin.
Yes.
And you think she's just going to get slammed up against the bin, crap, generic death. But what happens to her is...
Yeah, the razor sharp lid cuts her in half like she's butter.
Yeah, exactly. And that bit where John Carver feeds the cat, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, that was a great personality moment, man. John Carver's got a lot of personality in that movie. That is a shitload of personality for one movie. That's what really, when I walk away from Thanksgiving, like, I'm so pumped. I'm not even the biggest Eli Roth fan, but I feel like he showcased, hey guys, I've been studying these movies my whole life, and boom, I'm gonna drop an A+ project. Like, this is a masterclass in how you make a love letter to 80s whodunit revenge slashers. There's not, to me, not one weak moment in Thanksgiving 2. Like, I don't think there's one weak performance or moment. Like, I love everything about it. And I do have to just give a quick shout out to Daniel from the Cobwebs channel, who was in the chat. Guys, Daniel's channel is absolutely amazing. This guy is one of the most, like, effortlessly charming film fans I've ever watched on YouTube. His stream of consciousness, like reviews and his memory of the movies he watches, his love of older film, and his ability to extend his passion to the viewer and make you really excited about watching werewolf movies you've never seen before from the 60s and 70s and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's amazing. And Daniel just broke 50,000 subs, I believe, last week. So big congrats to Daniel. He was a guest on Late Night months back. And Daniel, you know, it doesn't have to be late night, but let's get you back on the channel, have a discussion, kind of like what we're doing here with the Twisted Locker Boys. We can find a really cool topic and jump in. And man, I hope that hope your 2025's doing great for your family. And you know, Daniel jumps in to say Dell is right. Kids today are super into art, because Dell had said, I teach 4th grade and kids who've never seen the movie know him. So,
yeah,
you know, man, the kids are speaking the truth, and I'm out of touch. I'm not a parent, but Daniel is, and I'm guessing his son recognizes art. I think I remember a video from Spirit Halloween where his son was scared of art, like he was Santa Claus. So maybe that's the truth from the mouth of babes.
Yeah, you
right?
know what? My daughter and all her friends know who Art the Clown is. She's never seen the films, but she knows who he is because of TikTok. He's probably popping up on TikTok.
Yes.
So yeah, I think yes, he's on his way, definitely.
And I do think, you know, I put off watching Terrifier for a really long time. Number one, I knew that it was so over the top gore, and that's just usually not my cup of tea. It's just like I like dynamicism in the music I listen to and the movies I watch. So I don't mind having like an off-screen kill or a partially like obscured kill, and then maybe having a couple that are a bit more out there and a couple in the middle. I kind of like just a little bit of everything. So I was like, I don't know if I'm really gonna like this, and it was kind of embarrassing as a grown-ass man being afraid of the way that Art the Clown looks, because he is a frightening visage, and that put me off for a while. But I tell you what, if Terrifier 4 could please be no longer than 1 hour and 50 minutes, like Damien Leone, please stop making 2-hour splatter films, dude. It's a splatter film. Stop wasting my time. Even Nosferatu, I was like, you could have been 1 hour and 55. Half of the scenes in Nosferatu are doing the same thing. They're like, look, she's still convulsing. It's got to be Nosferatu. And I'm just like, you just did this. You know, like,
yeah. I think if Damien Leone wants to make long films, just do extended cuts. You know, people will jump on it. But you gotta. I didn't want to watch number 2 because I heard it was like 2.5 hours long. I thought, even if I don't like it, then I'm stuck with a 2.5 hour film.
Yes.
And I can't. It's a bit like Gladiator 2. I watched Gladiator 2 a few months ago, and if an epic is shit, you're looking at least 3 hours of shit. At least with a slasher, you're looking at 90 minutes, so it's like you can endure it, you know.
Yeah. Well, and Daniel brings up here, he's like, I need time on the lore, but I guess that's also a complaint of mine too, Daniel, is even though Terrifier 2 is 2 hours 18 minutes, I believe Terrifier 3 is 2 hours 5 minutes. I think they're pretty light on the lore. Like, they're breadcrumbs. I think Terrifier 3 had more of the lore, and it's shorter. So I liked that. We can hit up another icon here in a second, but I do think this is my prediction for where we're headed with Terrifier. Have you guys seen the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV series all the way through?
No, a lot of it, but not the last season.
So basically the way that it culminates is, you know, what you find out in the show is there's basically like an opening to hell underneath the school that she goes to.
The hell mouth,
and the way that the show ends is literally like an opening to hell is created, and they go down there and like have a battle with the demons. And I think that's where Terrifier is heading. Like, I think that Sienna's going to go down there to rescue her niece or her cousin. I think she's going to go down there, and it's going to culminate in Terrifier 5 with like an all-out like Braveheart battle. Like, that's where I think Damien Leone's taking it, because he's putting all of this biblical lore in there. There's all these like allegories and metaphors to Christianity and Judaism. And I think that we really are going to see like an angel, like Sienna is literally an angel fighting the devil, and it's going to be like a large scale. I really hope he does take it large scale, because then when you look back on the franchise, you'd be like, man, look at the scope of this franchise. It isn't just a clown killing people for the gore.
Yeah, like John Wick has grown and grown and grown into like epic movies, and started like 25 million budget, and then it went on to like something massive.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
definitely.
I just hope they lean more into the lore, because I think the breadcrumbs are good, but I'm ready to see more, especially for how much, like, I thought Terrifier 3, it's funny, you almost think like, oh, that's relatively light compared to Terrifier 2. Even though it's super gory, it still feels like it was more fun, you know? And that's what I really loved about Terrifier 3 versus the other two films.
When we went to that horror con, because they had a few people from Terrifier 1 on stage, they were showing that video, the music video, what they call Ice something.
Ice Nine Kills.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that video is so gory, and they were playing it kind of on repeat, and they was playing it on the convention. There's all little kids there, and I was thinking, and I thought the video, anything with babies, I don't like looking, and I thought that was more disturbing than anything in like Terrifier 3, where she's giving birth and they're throwing the baby around. It's too much for me. I was like, oh, look, I've checked out.
I think Terrifier 3, the gore was actually like kind of funny. When he's doing the nitrous or the nitrogen and smashing the Santa's hands, like I thought that was just kind of funny.
Because like when he kills kids in the third one, I think if he was torturing kids, I think people would be like, that's too much, because he's killing them quick. You're assuming they don't even know. Yeah, you can torture the adults, but I think if he was torturing the kids, I think people would be like, no, that's too much. I think. Yeah,
I didn't think it was. Yeah, and then even in the opening scene, again, they did, for as far as Terrifier goes, they showed some reservation because you only see the aftermath, you don't see the actual attack. But hey, sound design certainly paints a picture as well. Yeah. It'll be
a line.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I think, to me, I'm sort of like anything's on the table. That's sort of how I look at it. I'm like, this is when you go to a horror movie, like you can sort of like leave your morals at the door. And, you know, I do really believe in like freedom of artistic expression. And I'm a relatively like, you know, I'm a God-fearing man and all that stuff, but I'm very aware that like when you go into a creative space and you want people to like, they're writing a story, painting a picture, or making a movie, like I can't put like my shit on them and my, you know, hold them to like whatever my personal beliefs are. Like I'm there for like, I just want that freedom there, and then the audience decides, and that's that's whether or not it becomes a success, you know.
I think that's where the problem with Human Centipede 2, because the first one was relatively reserved, and the second one, he just put the worst things on screen. I'm thinking, well, there's a limit, you know. I don't need to see all this. Like if you watch, you mentioned that Eli Roth. I'm a massive Hostel fan. I absolutely adore that film and the second one. And if you watch that first film, he only shows you what you need to see. Like there's a scene, for example, where they're going to cut that little girl, that woman's toe off, and they line up the scissors, and you don't actually see it get cut. There's just the scream transitions into the next scene, and you assume you've seen it, but you don't. You just, your brain thinks, oh, it cut the foot. You don't need to see it, and that's clever. And I think that's what you need.
Yeah, your brain fills in the gaps for sure.
Definitely.
And yeah, everyone's got their limits and their, you know, their own sensibilities. So it's like you just want to make sure that you're able to tap into your audience's sensibilities. And I think with Terrifier, luckily for Damien Leone, it's like, I think his audience is just sort of down for whatever he does.
Totally.
Oh, definitely.
You know? And Daniel's got a good question here before we, you know, maybe we can talk about one more icon and, you know, maybe keep the show to a little under 2 hours here. Cause I mean, it's been awesome, but we've been flying, boys. I don't know if I can't believe it's been an hour and a half. I feel like we just started talking. But Daniel asks, are the true icons of horror today actually directors? Are they the characters horror fans get the most excited for? So yeah, we're talking about guys like Fede Alvarez, you know, the Radio Silence guys, Eli Roth, Robert Eggers, Damien Leone. That's kind of a good Mike Flanagan. That's a really good question, Daniel, because certainly I do think that, you know, back in the day we did have John Carpenter and Wes Craven, but now we have a whole stable of horror icon directors.
This is my thing. I love directors, and my favorite thing to do as a movie fan, not just a horror fan, a movie fan, is find directors and watch all of their works. And I want to have those directors that I'm excited about. If Fede Alvarez is attached to a project, or if Mike Flanagan has got something new coming out, if you look back in history, you follow these directors like Wes Craven, Toby Hooper, John Carpenter, and we're getting this resurgence now where we're getting some really, really big people coming through. And for me, I would rather see a director's name attached to something, or Fede Alvarez has a film coming out, other than just a nameless film. Oh, this film's coming out. If you
actor, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like the last director I really got into was Brian De Palma, and I'm talking about his Hitchcock run where he did Dress to Kill, Body Double, Sisters. That was the last director I really discovered in a Blowout. That was the last director I discovered in a big way in terms of being obsessed with them and just eating up everything they could offer. So yeah, I agree with you. Cobwebs is absolutely on the directors.
I think as well, there's a big debate at the moment where there are no movie stars anymore. Like even The Rock, who you consider a movie star, is not selling movies. Nobody's going to see the film with The Rock in, or Tom Hanks. They thought like Tom Cruise was still a movie star, and then the last Mission Impossible bombed. I think people just went to see Top Gun. But with directors and to some extent the writer, if the writer is the director, then I don't give a shit who's in it. I don't give a shit who was in Evil Dead Rise. That's why they're so cheap. You don't have to pay actors very much. Yeah, and
you get to give a new actor an opportunity. You know. Yeah.
And I
think we need to see I think we need more fresh performers, because I think that helps the suspension of disbelief when you watch a film. You don't want to sit there and say, oh, I know everything about Tom Cruise's personal life. Like I think about the guy jumping on the couch, and like, you know, it's just like you do sometimes want to just like shut it off, you know?
Because when you watch like something like Talk to Me, is it straight on New Zealand? I forget. You know?
Australia.
Australia. They're all teens you've never seen in your life. Now, maybe if you're from Australia, you might recognize a few, but they just feel like real people then, you know, and you can relate to them much more.
Yeah, and it's almost like with directors now, it's like you get excited because you're like, oh, this person that's really good at directing has put their stamp on this thing. So they saw something in this story, or they created this story with another person. It's got to be good because this person wouldn't attach themselves to something bad. Sort of like one that I wanted to bring up that we forgot, and who's, you know, up and coming now in a big way, is Oz Perkins. Like the guy. Like Longlegs, you know, even if you aren't pumped about the way the story went with Longlegs, to me, it's one of the most gorgeously shot films I've ever seen in my life. The camera placement and the movement and the blocking, I know that's really nerdy stuff to like get excited about, but man, when I watch Longlegs, I get like goosebumps just because of the way the film looks. And then he does something like The Monkey, or you know, he's doing The Monkey that's coming out, and it's not doing the monkey like the dance, but that's pretty cool too. And it's, you know, a Stephen King story. Those adaptations are kind of hit and miss, you know, and it's like, and everyone's pumped about The Monkey because Oz Perkins.
Do you think? And what I liked about Longlegs, because when I write horror, I always try to find a way to get rid of a mobile phone, a cell phone, because they ruin horror. So it's either like cell service, signal, or they've lost it. And I've noticed like there's a couple of films now, they're set pre-mobile phones. So because there's no real reason why Longlegs is set in the 90s. It's not like a particularly like nostalgic decade.
Exactly.
Wild. It's just like, you know, there's no internet, there's no phone. There we are, brilliant. How much easier is that to make a horror? And I kind of hope he does that with the monkeys. Well, keep that sort of tone, but I don't think it is. It looks modern.
Yeah, but you could still not have them in there, like Evil Dead 2013. To me, it looks modern. They never reference a cell phone.
Is that right?
You know, not once do they reference a cell phone in Evil Dead 20. They just do not acknowledge it. No one takes one out. And yeah, somebody has like a Leonard Skinner shirt on or something like that, but it's like that doesn't mean like you can get that at like Target. You can get that at like a regular ass department store nowadays. So it's like, I do think you're right though, Jenks. It's like you said it in a way where you don't have this like. The last thing I want to see in a movie is someone take out a cell phone and be like, oh, I don't have a signal. Like, shut the fuck up. Get that out of your movie.
Shut the fuck up.
Like, not interested. Like, don't even, like,
but that's
like, who are you appealing to?
Horror. Yeah, that's what it's like for modern horror. It's a constant thing. I need to get rid of this phone. And I've experienced it in my own books. It's just constant. Either drop it or you forget it, and just like get rid of them. They're fucking shit.
Yes.
For film, for ruined horror.
Yes, you absolutely have to get rid of them. Really quick, I want to let everyone know. So that super chat goal that we have in there, it ends in 20 minutes. So right around the time we're going to end the stream, you know, we're 3/5 of the way there. So if you guys want the Twisted Locker, I'm not going to say that I'm never going to bring these guys back, but if you want us to plan, if you want, yeah, it's all about this, you guys.
Done.
If you guys want Twisted Locker back here relatively soon, we'll discuss another topic. Then go ahead and shoot a couple more super chats there. I believe just, you know, $4.99 or more. Just 2 more of those will get that going. And then I wanted to hit up the poll again, guys, before we sort of start wrapping things up here. So the poll has 47 votes. What creates a timeless horror icon? 36% of folks say the look and presentation. 32% say the personality or lack thereof. 26% say creative kills, and 6% say theme music. So thank you guys so much to everyone that participated in the vote there on that one.
That's about right. Yeah.
I think so. Especially for, you know, based on what we've been, you know, talking about throughout today, it seems like that's sort of the way just our discussion has led, as far as like, yeah, the look and the personality are sort of like the lion's share there of what makes the icon.
All the separate options on that what you call them,
Paul.
Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Put all those together, what you get Halloween 1, Nightmare on Elm Street 1, Friday the 13th not 1, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5. But we can look at all those things individually and say that's what makes it great. But if you really do a deep dive into these classic slasher movies, they've got every single one of those. And that's why I feel like they stand out on their own as some of the greatest horror movies ever made, you know?
Yeah, I think like it's like a bit like a song. I think the look is the melody and the rest of it's decoration. If you don't get the melody right, if you don't get the look right, then none of the rest of the stuff people are going to check out. You could have the best bonus track, and it's a bit like Heart Dies. Heart Dies is drawn in because his look is amazing. It might be shit. Might be part of shit.
I'm really looking forward to that. Maybe that's sort of how we can, you know, close out the discussion. You know, we've talked about some amazing icons. If you guys, you know, want the Twisted Locker guys back, maybe we could jump into a couple more icons. Like we didn't get the chance to talk about Leatherface or, you know, Chucky the doll. But, you know, maybe we can kind of talk about some of the, like, you know, some of the, like, what we can postulate what will be the future icons. Like, is John Carver going to be an icon in the future? Do we think that something like Heart Eyes could become an icon, you know, down the road? Do we, like, just based on how you guys are feeling about these properties and how the trailers are looking for you so far?
I'm excited to see where Thanksgiving goes. I'm chuffed that film did well. I do like Eli Roth, and it's nice to see him get a win. I don't feel like that's going to be a franchise that's going to get there. Heart Eyes, it's hard to tell. I think the trailer looks fantastic. They've got a great look. I love that mask. But it's hard to predict these things because they always come from nowhere. Look at Terrifier, for example, that first movie, and how independent that film was.
Yeah,
it's just something that happens, and a lot of times it's a freak accident. I don't think it's down to the film particularly being good or great. It's just it comes at a certain point and it hits people somewhere, and then it just takes off.
Yeah, timing.
It's timing. It's a very, very hard thing to predict, and it's surprising that so many were able to do it after Halloween. Halloween isn't the first slasher movie ever made, but it set its sort of template for the rest of the movies to follow in the 80s. And somehow multiple people were able to replicate that and create their own horror icons. And we went through the 80s with that, and I can imagine there was hundreds of solo. Well, I know there's hundreds of solo slash movies in the 80s.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I never went anywhere. I guarantee you they wanted it to be a franchise, but none of them captured the imagination as much as Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and you know the rest of the iconic ones. You know.
Yeah, I think you're right with Terrifier, because I was looking through my sort of my feed, and I kept seeing Hallows Eve and seeing this clown, and I asked then I saw Terrifier. I thought, what the fuck? Is it the same bloke? Didn't really understand how it worked, And I asked you, I said, are they any good? Because everyone's talking about Terrifier. You were like, I think you said, I don't even like it, so you haven't got a fucking chance, Steve. I was like, all right, I'll definitely skip it. If Curtis thinks it's shit, and then all of a sudden, then you see Terrifier everywhere. But yeah, it came from nowhere. It's timing. You can't predict these things, and it's like I said earlier, it's just people were ready, and for some reason, Art the Clown stepped in. You know?
Yeah. And if something like Heart Eyes hits, the really cool thing, similar to Thanksgiving, is, well, there you go. Next February, you put out another Heart Eyes, and then we have a series that runs on right around Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And it's something we've never had, because My Bloody Valentine and the remake were both one-offs. And then that Valentine movie from 2001 is just not good. Even though The Killer, I think, has like a pretty good look in a few of the scenes, that movie just really didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I like the mask in it, but I haven't gone back to it since it came out, really. I don't know when it came out. I was really young, but it hasn't been one I've gone back to.
It's David Boreanaz is a TV actor at best. He's really bad in that movie. Like, a lot of the actors are really. I did a review of Valentine last year where I had a lot of fun just kind of tearing into the performances. So if you guys want to see how I feel, that's probably the review where I've had the most fun being, like, quote unquote angry. I think I called David Boreanaz. I go, more like David boring all of us. So excellent. Yeah, I'm pumped to see, what's going to come of these. I do really hope that, I've got such high hopes for Thanksgiving too. I think it's sort of a slam dunk, but of course you can't really bank on it until you see it. I know they're going to try to turn Johnny from In a Violent Nature into an icon, but that movie kind of bored the hell out of me after the first 35 minutes. I was like, okay, I get it. Moving on.
I loved that film. I thought it was fantastic.
The first 35, 40 minutes. Yeah.
Just said you didn't mind it. Just don't act big now. Don't act big now, right? He likes to show off, right? You told me you didn't mind it.
Look, right? I know what I said was I thought the kills were really clever. The way the camera. Didn't. I did say that.
Yeah, you said that, but that's not the only reason you liked it. You said, and I quote, "I actually quite enjoyed it." You didn't complain about the walk-in. You didn't say you were bored.
I don't remember giving it a favorable review at all. And I said, I might go back to it. I said, because you raved about it. I said, maybe I'll give it another chance. Yes.
I hope in the sequel that they just do I think we've exhausted the third person camera. So I hope in the sequel, they just give us a little bit of a different flavor, keep Johnny, but maybe have it be a more traditional, kind of traditionally made film, and not try to do the third person forever,
Yeah, that bit when he cuts that guy up on the log, it's incredibly clever, because I watched that scene and I didn't take my eyes off it. I thought, when is he going to cut? And it's no cut at all. And I can't remember, but they chop him up or something, but the camera never leaves, and it is an amazing. Yeah. And the bit with is it the log? He drops a rock on the guy's head. Boulder on the head. Very clever. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked the kills were cool. I just, for whatever reason, I was sort of looking at my watch. I'm like, man, this movie's only an hour and a half, and I'm already checking the time.
I was drawn.
What the hell do I know? There you go. Daniel says he's with Curtis. In a Violent Nature rules.
Yes. I was drawn in from the first second, and all the bits I thought that would bore me, everyone complained online about the long walking sequences with Johnny. I was there for them as well. I loved everything about it, and I'm quite into experimental horror films, but not art house per se, but just something a bit different. Give me something I haven't seen before. Not Rob Zombie's Halloween, where we follow Michael. We didn't need that, but give us a new original killer, and let's see what happens with them. I thought it was fantastic, guys. I loved it.
It is, and you know what? I just want to say this. I usually say this all the time. It's whether or not I like a film, it's I'm really happy to see people succeed in horror and find an audience. I do believe that a rising tide raises all ships. So it's even if I don't like something or I do love something, it's for me, I just want to see the success and celebrate people's success. And You know, my opinion is probably the most inconsequential part of it all. So it's just sort of like, that's just how I feel. Like, no big deal. And more power to the people that love it, and absolutely more power to the people that are creating it. Like, these guys have an opportunity to create a career, you know, in the creative sphere as filmmakers, and that's a dream come true for anyone that dips their toe in that whole realm. So wish them all the success. Absolutely. And radio silence, I kind of wish you guys some success, but can you impress me next time, please? Thank you very much.
I was just about to say, wise words, Davey. Wise words, pal.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. So, wow. Here we are, almost 2 hours. And not only that, Cody Snyder, our amazing Death Squad mod and channel member, just put in the last $5 super chat. So, guys, we reached the goal. We will bring back Twisted Locker relatively soon. We're going to have another topic lined up for you guys. And check this out. If you're watching this after the fact, first off, everyone that's watching live after the fact, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you share the channel with somebody who you think would dig this kind of content. And you can become a channel member for as low as 99 cents a month. We have some really fun hangouts with the channel members. I do first-time watch parties with the channel members, and I do not do that on the public stream with everybody. So it's something that's very intimate, really cool hangout, and a lot of fun. And so let us know in the chat, or if you're watching after the fact, what kind of topic do you want to see the Twisted Locker boys and myself discuss next time? Let us know, and we'll get that going. And I just want to, while you guys, I rarely do this, guys, but I think we'll just do the send-off like with you guys here. Usually I kick the guests out. I'm like, get the hell out of here. And I do my whole like, wow, that was so much fun with everybody. But no worries, Jeff. You can always scrub it on back and watch the full replay there. So what I'm going to do really quick is I just want to go over all the super chats that we had here and just give these people a little bit more love before we close out. So Toronto Freddy dropping a $2 Canadian right there. Dean Renner was the first to drop a $4.99 to bring you guys back. Jordan Moran dropped £5. Love every time you guys collab. What's your favorite Evil Dead film, and why is it the OG? It is the OG for me, and it's because it's the most punk rock film of all time, Jordan. What do you guys say?
My favorite, it's got to be Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2 all day.
Yeah.
All right. That was my favorite. That was my favorite when I first got into the series because it was so much fun. So much fun. Leanna Bevy Rage, one of our great channel members and Death Squad mods, says, I have to catch on the replay, but we need more Twisted Locker over here. Have a great day, guys. And then happy. Yeah, Leanna's amazing. She's hilarious too. If you catch her in the chat, she's a barrel of laughs. Happy Sanjo dropped a $1.99. Cheers, guests and Davey. Much love. Thank you so much, Coy. Toronto Freddy is like, how's Twisties for Jenks and Curtis subs? Like, do you guys have a we call Death Squad, we call it the Death Squad over here. Do you guys have a clever name for your people?
It's too close to Swifties.
That's probably what he's going for, because Toronto Freddy's really into the puns.
Yeah, we did have a think, and I'm usually quite good at coming up with things like that, but I can't think of it. And we do say Twisted Family in general on the Facebook group.
That's good,
but we haven't got good names for our 2 membership tiers. Yeah.
Call it Locker Fockers. Don't take my ideas, are terrible. I don't even like coming up with my own ideas for my shit. I'm Death Squad. I'm just like, that one's easy. And then Toronto Freddy. Go ahead, Kurt.
I was just gonna say, my daughter was saying about fans being called the locks. The keys to our lock.
The keys. There you go. The Twisted Keys. You guys are the locker. They're the Twisted Keys.
Yes, you tell her that was stupid.
Oh, Jenks.
Yeah. Go to your room.
Yes, you can do something better. No food.
And Toronto Freddy dropped another $5 Canadian. Says, just as it's stated in the great Pink Floyd song "The Wall," bring the boys back home. Yes. All right. Hell yeah. And I can't wait. At some point, I'm gonna fly out there and hang out with you guys in Wales, and we'll be able to. We'll have to go to Conway. We'll have to check it out. That's my last name, so we'll have to check it out.
Conway is about a 6-hour drive from where I am.
Oh, that's
I've been to Conway, and it's hell of a trek.
They've got some castles there and shit. Be kind of cool.
Yes, well,
Cool.
there's a castle on every corner in Wales, to be fair.
It's amazing. We don't have that shit here, so it's fascinating for us Americans. And then we got Cody Snyder dropped the 5 that closed out the goal, and then holy cow, we got Frank Riker from Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast showing the love. Thank you so much, Frank.
Legend.
I love what you and Darren do. I know that Curtis and Jenks feel the same exact way, and we got to get you guys on the show, Frank. While we can do one of these before darks. And get you and Darren on, and it would match up for everyone's time. So let's get that cooking. All right, guys. So I just want to thank everyone that jumped in on the stream with us, all the subscribers, all the people who maybe this is their first stream. Hopefully you've subscribed. Everyone that's watching after the fact, thank you so much. Big shout out to the Patreon members. Huge shout out to the channel members. And of course, my Death Squad mods. I think today we've had Jamie Hart, Leanna Bevy Rage, Eli Cortez, and Cody Snyder in here holding it down. So you guys are amazing. And last but not least, thank you so much to Curtis and Jenks from Twisted Locker. You guys can check out their Instagram and their YouTube in the description below. So don't forget to give them a sub. I think you guys are getting pretty close to 1,500 on your sub count.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and make that happen. Let's share their channel and spread the word. Again, if you like this stream or like what we're doing over here at the Davey Deathray channel, please share that as well. Anything else you guys got coming up that you want to peddle here on my channel?
We've just dropped a Freddy's Dead video. Came out today. I don't want to be modest, but it's probably our funniest one because we just ripped the shit out of it. We laughed our asses off, didn't we? It was easy.
You forgot the power glove.
We were trying to be positives and stuff, but it was just too easy to rip on it. Like number 5 was difficult because it was a bit flat. It wasn't shit enough to take the piss off. Wasn't good enough to But this one was easy, wasn't it? So yeah, that's the latest video we got out. Yeah.
And when did that that just dropped today or yesterday?
While we were on the channel, we
boom, there it is.
Yeah.
So guys, click the link in the description. Head on over to Twisted Locker. If you haven't subbed, give them a sub. Just give them the benefit of the doubt. Check out some of their videos. You can always hit the unsub if you're not digging what you're seeing, but I guarantee you guys are gonna love their dynamic over there. These guys are.
I'm going to pretend like I'm frozen as well because this is awkward.
Yeah. We're
frozen.
Yes.
Right. What should we say about Davey while he's frozen?
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if the chat even understands what we're saying with our accents. All the way through, just waiting for Davey to speak. Oh, yes. This is weird.
I know.
We just hijacked his channel. Yeah, we've hacked it, so he just shut him up. Yes.
Oh, what a drag that was.
What a shit channel. Yeah. Oh,
this is extra weird now. I'm so sorry, guys. I know you're not here to see us.
Yes, they are. Come on. Yes. Just keep on bringing in.
Thanks for coming on the show, Jenks. Do you want to give your channel a quick plug before we finish things up?
Yes, we're Twisted Locker. We are awesome. We weren't awesome at the start. Now we are. We don't promote our first few videos. We used to. But we don't
We're
anymore.
on the verge of deleting them.
Yeah, no, we can't do that. But yes, I can't believe the host is just gone.
It's very, very rude if you ask me.
It is a bit rude.
Probably the last time we're coming on the show.
Do you think he's just gone to the toilet?
Yeah.
Right,
we better drop Jenks.
Yeah, I wonder if we should. I don't want to leave the studio.
Yeah, like I don't want to shut his live down. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to close his live for him.
Chat, can we pray for Davey? Because I think he's having a bit of a panic. Probably not having a panic. He does this all the time. He has about 3 lives a day. He probably doesn't care. But yes. Right, I'm going to say thank you anyway. Chat, you've been awesome. I'm really tired because it's 10 past 10. It's way past my bedtime.
Yeah, same.
Same here. But
yeah, like Jenk said, thanks everyone in the chat. I know we were here to see Davey Deathray, but I hope you enjoyed the show, guys. And yeah, catch you all soon.
Yeah. Are you going to leave?
Yeah, I'm not staying here. This is weird.
I know, right? Top. Right, cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye. Right, now that Jenks is gone. No, try, guys.
Oh my gosh, everyone. Are you guys still hanging out on the screen here? My apologies, everybody. The modem just had a little blip and needed to be restarted. I'm so sorry. Yes, feels like a setup, says Abigail. You guys are amazing for 24 people still hanging out here, even though we went completely frozen and the stream disconnected. Wow, you guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Thanks. I'm really sorry, guys. I wanted to do the send off with y'all. I'm glad we pretty much got all the peddling and all that important stuff out of the way, but yeah, just a little blip with the with the modem. Oh, technical difficulties, right? As Toronto Freddy says, awkward. It's all good. It's all good. Yes, I got scared talking about all this horror, and I just had to run away. I don't know what to tell you. Yes, I'm gonna fire you when I get back, Cody. You're out of here. Yeah, I got canceled. You know, I don't know who canceled me, but somebody must have done that. Davey has vanished. Kicked off his own channel. It's all true, guys. It's all true. You guys are amazing for kicking it with us here. I'm glad I could hop back into the stream and end this proper for y'all. So really appreciate all of you guys for hanging out with us, of course. To Jenks and Curtis from Twisted Locker, my Welsh brothers from Other Mothers, you guys are absolutely amazing. I'd have you on the channel anytime, but now we really got to, you know, get that going because we reached that super chat goal. So the people have spoken. They want you back. And really quick, before we end things, I'm going to end the poll here. So we have 51 votes. What creates a timeless horror icon? 41% of people say the look and presentation. 29% say the personality or lack thereof. 24% say creative kills, and 6% say the theme music. So thank you so much to everybody that participated there. Really appreciate everyone that's dropped that like, sub to the channel, become a member of the channel, and become a Patreon member as well. Really pumped to be back on Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have Jamie Hart, our original Death Squad mod, and she and I are going to dive into the Evil Dead franchise. What an awesome franchise. Quite possibly the most consistent, the best franchise in all of horror. Really looking forward to that one. Make sure you have the notification bell hit on the channel so you don't miss that. I will probably start advertising the heck out of that one. And then we got to, you know, figure out something, you know, what's going to come next for all y'all at the Davey Deathray channel with my Death Squad family. Jamie dropped the link there for our stream on Friday. Thank you so much to Punkachino, one of our great channel members. Can't wait to see you guys stream again. Yes, we'll probably put something together. Maybe it'll be like late February or something like that. Give us a little bit of time. I know it's a busy life for everyone, but we'll get that cooking certainly. And yeah, guys, so, you know, Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, Evil Dead Talk with Jamie Hart. And until next time, I've been and will continue being Davey Deathray. Take care.